Let's talk about playing zones on the instrument. So I've selected a Chow Tam Tam for this demonstration because it's kind of set up like a target. Generally, with a Tam Tam, whether it's a Paiste instrument, Grata Sonora, a Chow Wuhan, like this one, Wuhan Chow. This is a Chow style Tam Tam from the Wuhan district of China. Generally, the lowest fundamental, the basic bass tone, there we go, of your instrument will be just off center. We almost never, with rare exception, play dead center. And the reason for this is that the way that this plate vibrates, because right now it's just a cold piece of metal, it's not activated yet, the vibrations aren't moving, that's why it's not making sound. There are parts of this instrument that the physical kinetic energy, the mechanical energy that creates sound, there are areas where it vibrates significantly less than other areas. There is a lot of vibration at the rim, and there's a lot in the middle of the plate, and there's not much dead center. So if you need a really dead sound, dry sound, you could play dead center. The reason that we avoid this spot is it's the least flexible spot on the instrument. So in the next section, I'll talk about priming, what we do to get the instrument ready to speak. But if you were to walk up, or if one of your students, or we see this a lot in high schools, if you were to walk up with a really heavy mallet, like a steel core orchestral style beater, and you played full swing, full force, dead center, without priming this instrument, you can potentially crack the instrument. This is extremely rare. It's not something you have to really worry about, especially if you're playing with proper informed technique. But because this spot is so unlikely to vibrate well, the instrument feels and it seizes up, but you've put a lot of force into it, a lot of energy, and it has nowhere to go, so it cracks. We call this a nodal zone. There are other nodes on the instrument, and that's where they have drilled through to suspend it. So I'm not saying never play dead center, but just so you know, if you do play dead center, the physics of the instrument, that's not really where it sings. It's the same reason on a singing bowl that we hold it on the bass, because the center, the base of the instrument is the nodal point. This is the spot that's least likely to vibrate. Now, vibrations do move through there, but that's not how it's designed. It's designed to sing from the rim. That's what it does. So that's why we don't hold it at the rim and barely on the wall, because we're impeding on those vibrations and the voice of the instrument. But by holding it at the base, I am naturally leaning into the mechanics of the instrument, the physics of it. So I know that's very technical, but that's why we don't play dead center. Thank you, Bull. Okay, so we play off center a lot. There's a gorgeous, lush bass tone, fundamental tone there. Versus, let's try it. Do you hear that changed? It went boom. You could feel it almost suffocating. It's like a boa constrictor. It's constricted, it's constrained. It doesn't naturally sing there. Maybe you need that sound at some point in your session. At least you know where it is. But comparing it to how much more blossom comes out of that. So much less tension. There's a nice release associated with that. Now, within our overtone spectrum of our fundamental tone, overtone partials, the reason that I love the Chow instruments, and I'll speak more about instrument selection later, is that this isn't tuned to one note. There's a combination of tones and timbres, semitones all the way through this. So it's a very universal instrument. It's a very complex instrument. The lower tones tend to be off center. The higher partials all kind of live at the edge. Do you notice how that boom kind of fell away? But there's still a really nice full spectrum. They're just sort of out in the ether. I played my card too soon. We're going to talk about that later. So you've got lows off center, you've got highs at the edge, and the split the difference part here combines both. Every gong has a sweet spot as well, so you might have to play around on yours to figure out where it like really connects to like what you imagine the tone to be or what you're like looking for out of that instrument. To me, that's one of the sweet spots. And there as well. And it's a subtle difference. I'll play like at the 12 o'clock in the mid-range and then closer to 2 o'clock and just see if your ears can kind of catch what changes. It's not good or bad. It's kind of like meditation in that way. I'm not saying that that's a good sound, that's a bad sound. They're just different. One speaks more to me in a moment than others do. Very slight difference, but for me, there's a sweeter spot. It's a little, and when I say sweet spot, it's more responsive. It's more complex. It elicits more color, as we call it, the timbre. I'll talk about how we describe color later, but what I'm hearing is a little bit brighter here. It almost has like a glass quality, very glacial, almost frosty. When I come just off to the 2 o'clock area, and you're probably seeing it flipped on the screen, this region here for me, that sweet spot up top there, has a little bit more of a caramelly kind of color that comes in. It's a little warmer. It's a little bit richer as well. There's a transparency there. That's interesting.